So yeah, I'm just going to say a few words to begin with, just an introduction, but it's very simple. What I'll talk about. There is no message here, of course. There's no message to offer. This is just an expression or a statement in a way, and all it is suggesting is that all there is immediacy. All there is just what seems to be happening. There's just this. That's it. That's it. That's all. It doesn't need to be anything more. It's just this. Just what is, without having anything added, without there being any requirement for something else. Right? There's no attempt to seek anything, because there's just what is. Why would one need to seek anything? This is it. This is all there is. So I mean, that's it. that's the whole thing there. And so then we can discuss things around that. There seems to be a quality of contraction, a me state, a sense of contraction, a sense of myself. There can seem to be that. But it's not a constant state. It's something that comes and goes. It's not always there. In deep sleep, there's no me. And there can be the moments where there's just no one there. There's just what is. And so the nature of what seems to occur is that there can be this constant seeking, this constant trying to get somewhere, this constant journey that's going on in a story called my life. And that can carry on until it just doesn't. There's no reason for that to just fall away, but it seems that can just fall away. There's a sort of burning out of the energy for seeking. There's a sort of ending of that contraction that seems to be in the body. And just letting go, or a dissolving, or whatever you want to call that. The end of an illusion. So we can talk around that. We'll never be able to define what this is. This is impossible to define. All this is immediacy. Just what is, just this. There's no subject, there's no object. There's just this. This is aliveness. This is newness. This is always new. So yeah, we can talk about that. This is just a discussion. There's nothing you can say that's right or wrong or anything like that. So we can just talk about it and have a conversation. We won't get anywhere. Just to point out, we're not going to be able to get anywhere because there's nowhere to get. Amazing and wonderfully, nowhere to get. Isn't that amazing? That just for that one-off, possibility that there's nowhere to get any. Everywhere else there's somewhere to get. In this little room, there's just nowhere to get. That's it. Yeah, so we can talk, we don't have to talk, whatever.
I'm curious.
Yeah. Sure.
So what are these idea of projects of self-improvement?
Yeah, well.
That's hard.
Yeah, but that self-improvement is what is it? The me state is all about getting better, trying to get somewhere,
more
because it feels very deficient ultimately, because there's a sense of separateness that sense of separateness makes it feels like, oh, there's something that I need to get. That the sense of contraction means that there's always something to get. So that starts the journey of seeking and trying to get somewhere. Yeah.
So I come from another teaching too, where it says that we're just the observers, right? We're not doing anything.
Yeah. So just to say, this is not a teaching. That's, I mean, what you're talking about is definitely a teaching. So this is a differentiation in a way. This doesn't have any kind of teaching at all. There's no possibility of teaching anything because all there is just this. But then when somebody says there's an observer, already what it means is that there's one, the subject, two, the object. 1, 2, dualism. So there's an observer of something. So then that immediately, just in that ideology, means that there is something being taught there, because there's a teacher and a student. 1, 2. There's no teachers here. This is not a teacher. This is basically like talking to the chair. I mean, there's no, you know what I mean. You know, it's not. You could talk to the chair if you prefer. You know, you'd get about as much. You know, maybe more. You'd get, but no. You'd get similar things. So this can't be a teaching, which is quite nice for a change, you know, as well.
So the death and dying is another just is thing. There is no death.
Yeah, actually, yeah, there is no death because there is no life. Yeah, there's no my life, right? So if there's no my life and there's no death as well, you know, if you see what I mean.
It's amazing that just what is, everything is what I would call a conceptual overlay. Every idea we have, life, death. I mean, what is that but words attached to this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, well, everything's a story for me. It's just lots and lots and lots of stories.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, they're meaningless. They're stories. Really.
Everything. It runs the gamut between life, death, person, identity.
Yeah.
Anything the mind can think of doesn't seem to be inherent to this, so to speak. Inherent is a poor choice of words, but
no. The mind can create lots of different things, but essentially, me is that quality that holds on to those thoughts and turns them into a story, my story. So it's sort of thoughts that are owned. And it's owned in a very particular way, because it's, as I very often talk about, me state as being it just does one thing, which is just contraction. It is just contraction. That's all it does. It's just that. It just contracts by itself. That's the nature of it. Apparently, just contraction. Different kinds of contraction.
And it could feel. It runs the gamut again. It could feel so real that we think there's a tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah. But essentially, all of that is just ownership of time.
Yeah.
It's just contraction around something called a thought called
so
time.
Even that doesn't exist. None of that.
There's nothing real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just this here.
Yeah. Just what is. Yeah.
And part of what is the storylines and the idea of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we could plan for, it's so real that we plan for tomorrow. And it seems like the body, and it really feels like there's I guess I'm stuck on the tomorrow thing.
Mm.
But it's remarkable. I'm seeing it as we speak, kind of. There's only here, it seems.
Well, here.
Not even here. I know.
Yeah.
My language
No.
betrays me, but.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
That's why.
It's just here and now. Sort of is a sort of location and and a point of time,
right.
You know, and so this is the end of location and the end of the time.
Right.
But I know what you're pointing at. Yeah.
It's just this. Yeah, it's remarkable.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep talking.
Okay. Yeah.
And I bring this up all the time, and I'm not trying to. I don't feel like I'm trying to figure anything out at this point, but just gets my curiosity on some level. Not that I'd have to fix or figure anything out, but just this could be a concept too. Okay, so
well, for me,
it may not be, but it could. You know, and I've mentioned this before. It feels like it lands somewhere as just this, and to me, just this feels like more than just this. Not more as a concept other, but more dimensional. Like this feels more dimensional than what we're used to thinking of as this, the body, the chair. You know, it feels more like and I can't even speak about it.
Well,
it's really tough.
but that's the
if
point.
I say consciousness, that's another thing. That's another idea.
Well, that's the point. I mean, this cannot be spoken of.
Right.
It's just the kind of arbitrary word, really. It doesn't have any real meaning.
So awareness doesn't come, and the words betray me with the.
Well, they always will. Yeah.
Awareness, another thing called awareness that we learned. You know.
Yeah.
But those are the words that come up, right? But it feels like this is just the awareness.
Well, yeah,
but not the awareness.
No, well, it's not. I mean, there's no. The awareness is another form of like 1, 2. There's something that needs to be aware of something else, right?
I don't mean it that way. It's like the mystery of this. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well,
rather than knowing that it's a chair or anything, we don't know what any of this is.
Sure.
Okay.
But I mean, in a certain sense, the mystery is only mystifying for me.
Sure.
Otherwise, there's nothing that really.
No, I don't know. I'm just trying to express this.
There's nothing that. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. It's impossible to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is a strange conversation because.
So then the word nothing comes up a lot, not as a thing, not as a nothing thing, not as a thing, as nothing separate, right? But that's a good word because it's like almost like, and I know the languaging is often said nothing and everything, you know, but it's like you can't. There's nowhere to land. So we will use the word nothing because it's just indescribable.
It is a word that can be used. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
But something resonates.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, this is
it's not seen by David.
What is being expressed is completely known to everyone. Everybody knows this. Everybody has a sense of this, but it's constantly overridden by something trying to seek. You know, so there's this constant seeking. But when that seems to just fall away, there's just what's left is just this. It's just completely free. There isn't anything in between anymore. There's no gap.
How do we get to that point where it just
You
falls
can't.
away?
No, you can't.
I'm just until it comes.
In a way, yeah. I mean, yeah. You know, you could say that. I mean, there's no body to get this. The seeking is me. Seeking is me. Seeking is also time. So this is the end of time, the end of seeking, the end of me. It's just the end of all of that. That just falls, it just collapses, it just dissolves. You know, it just burns out of energy to keep doing, keep seeking, you know, all of that. And also the questions of how do I, what if you, all those questions are the voice of me. it's just the voice of the questions that come out of that. It's just the voice of me. Me is just voicing itself. It always will come out with questions. That's all. That's what the energy of contraction expresses itself as questions. It's just how it seems to be. You know, it's a fever.
Can you still have a sense of me and at the same time the opposite of that?
Not really, because I mean, that sense of me is it's sort of like it's a bubble. You know, it's a bubble, a world within, you know, what is, and that in that it's like that, you know, narrow kind of contraction that's all about a story about my life. So then when that sort of breaks, that bubble pops. Well, you know, how do you put that back together again? You know, you're just like trying to, you know, there's nothing to do that. It's just the end.
It just seems like the bubble pops, but then it reforms.
Can seem to. For some people, there can be a glimpse, and then it can seem to come back. Yeah, it's possible. There's no rules to that. Yeah.
Can it be like a gradual kind of losing of steam?
It can be. Yeah. But in the end, it just falls away. You know, there is a falling away.
Mm-hmm.
A sort of. Yeah, there can be a seeming, you know, it's not, to talk about it in that way is to have this idea that there's progress over time.
Sure.
And this is the end of time, so there is a,
there's a point.
Yeah. I mean, it may not be, you know, the me has that ideology that it's going to be a huge thing, that,
right.
like fireworks and, you know, trains and, you know, all kind, you know, whatever, you know, but actually it can just be extremely nothing, you know, nothing's happening.
And yet the character David might feel, not that he buys into David, but the point of view as David might feel liberated in some way, because there's no David is no longer David as an obstacle. So the experience that flows through the point of view can just feel unobstructed.
There's a sense of relief.
Yeah.
This is relief. What is just relief. Relief from seeking, ultimately. You know, it's the end of seeking.
Whereas prior, and I know each time I talk it makes the character real, but whereas prior the character David might have felt contracted.
Well, the character
and there's no way that it has to
contraction.
play out.
The character is contraction. David is contraction. Me is contraction. It is that.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
It is dualism.
Got it. So there's no David here.
That's the
so
thing.
To speak.
Yeah. There's a convention, a social convention, where this seems to be I respond to
right.
to that word, but it's like a dog responding to its name, or, you know, it's the same thing. And that's not just this. Everybody, that's the, you know, it's not, you know, there's no difference. This isn't something, you know, special going on. It's just something which is this is less. There's less. There's not more, so to speak.
What's that like for the body when they're contracting, the me drops away?
I think similarly, actually, to Zabi, there was a sense here that there was a sense of contraction in the body, and then there was a sense that in that dropping away, that relaxed. You know, there was a felt sense of that. This is relaxation in a way, but not something that you can do. You can't do this. This is just the end of doing, trying to relax. The end of trying to relax.
What about as far as being in the immediacy, like any curiosities about different things, like whether it's just the normal world, oh, that's a nice sunset, or oh, this feels interesting, lean more into this, or...
I mean, my sense is that there's not, there isn't this sort of commentator going on.
Right.
There's not a sort of commentator looking at experiences and then, like in a David Attenborough film, David Attenborough's gone. Thank God, but there's not this kind of like commentation on nature. It's just what is.
Yeah.
It's just that. There's not a dialogue in. I mean, you can think about. There can be thoughts about that, but I'm just talking about the narrative. There's not a narrative. It's like somebody narrating a story. Literally, like narration. Yeah.
What about preferences?
Yeah, well that becomes very obvious. Yeah. That's all very obvious, because there's no one that has the preferences. So it's just very clear, like, oh, that I like that, don't like that.
So
Yeah.
preferences happen.
Yeah, and it's much more obvious. There's no, or actually there's like, there can also be that thing of like not knowing. I don't know. It's in the balance. There's not a draw towards it or so it is literally, that's what it is, just in the balance, and that's it. There's not I should make one way or the other. It's just that.
As the commentators.
Yeah, the commentator always thinks that there should, you should make a decision. Why? Why do you have to make a decision? Decisions are just made. There's nobody makes the decision. It's just attraction, repulsion. All the time. Going over there, going over there. It's like, yeah.
Probably they would be even stronger.
Yeah, well,
Because
yeah,
there's no
there's less
filter.
in the way. Less,
Yeah.
there's not enough. There's not a commentation, resistance. Should I
Or having a debate.
do this or that? Yeah.
So is it kind of like the merging of the me and the experience, or that's still dualistic, like the merging of the observer and the observer?
I mean, it's the end of the subject, so it's the end of the object. So I mean, merging would seem actually that there's two things that are merging together, where actually this is just the end of that sense of contraction, and then all that's left is what is.
So if you're looking at a sunset, the sunset is there, and really there's nothing else beyond.
Well, there's just the sun. There's just what is. There's just what is. Yes, sunset seeming to happen, or whatever's seeming to happen. Yeah. And I know I say seeming to happen, or you can say apparently happening, but the reason for that is that there's no time. Happening happens in time, right? So that's why that's expressed like that.
thought, feelings, movement. This obsession.
Well, it's not an obsession. It's just how the me is. Me is time.
That's the separation.
Yeah, me and time. You know, as soon as there's me, there's time. Time begins. That's the, you know, that's the point. So it's always in time because there's always me, you know, engaged, or seems to be. It's not actually. Me is not always there. It seems to be there, but there's not a continuousness of me. Me would love it to be. It would have a, you know, in a certain sense, it wants there to be continuousness because it's continuousness of contraction, but it's not continuous. Lots of breaks in that when you least expect it.
By that you mean in deep sleep?
Deep sleep, but not only, you know, where people are, you know, doing extreme table tennis, you know, or whatever. I'm just saying that, yeah. But you know, you know, like, there's just that. There's no time.
The athletes being in it. So
yeah, the reactions that are going on. There's no time for that.
That's
no time
not
for
what
me.
we're talking about, though, because that involves extreme focus, right, and attention, like being in the moment.
Well, you could say that, but I mean, there's no attempt to try to be extremely focused in the moment. There's just a ball coming towards you. Yeah, it's just response.
Yeah, just happening.
Just seeming to happen. Yeah. In fact, so what I would say is that the more focus and intention there is on trying to do that thing that you're talking about, first of all, you won't do it. You know, you won't get to the ball in time. You know, that's the first thing. And secondly, it's just there's that sense of separation increases. It increases that there's a gap. You know, because there's a huge amount of intent in that.
I think the thing about being no time is really striking. It's difficult to comprehend.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, impossible. Right? It's
impossible, right? It's just like, what do you mean? I mean, even what's happening right now, it's
right.
Well, the comprehension is almost like a collapsing.
Yeah.
It's like when you get close, when the comprehension gets close to you know, when you get close to comprehending that there's no time.
Yeah.
It just it stops being understanding and starts being collapsing.
Well,
or nothing.
Well, yeah, or just
this
paradox. It's just something that is not. It's impossible to define. Yeah. The me can't do anything with that.
Yeah, because a no thing, like the opposite of time, like no time. But no time isn't a thing; it's an absence.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, in dualistic, you know, good versus bad.
Yeah.
There's
two things.
Always
yeah.
two things. But here,
yeah.
the yes and the no, there's only, you know,
right.
they just kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Zero. Yeah. Yeah.
what I'm hearing from Adam is that when we talk about no time, like time here with a me, me is time, no time with you. Right? Again, what I'm hearing Adam say is that it still has like a duality, like there's this place where there's time and then there's some other place somewhere where there's no time, but it's actually not like that.
No, it's not like that.
Said I mean, we can use the language, but it's not like there's some place out there with no time that David has arrived, and I'm still here stuck in time.
No, there is no time at all.
Period.
Yeah, and then there is the illusion of time, or the appearance of time. It's just apparent time, seeming time. It seems to be time, but there's no time.
Defined as time.
Yeah.
It's thought of as
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the same with the chair? Is it like, the chair doesn't actually, there is no chair?
Well,
it's appearing.
Yeah.
Just like time.
Yeah.
You said, descent.
Sure.
To
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as abstract as time.
Exactly. The word is CHAIR is abstract.
Oh, I see.
But
yeah.
Well,
it's just what is.
But that appearance isn't abstract. That's just, it's already happening.
It's just what is.
Yeah.
It's just what is. It can't be it's not real. There's nothing that's real. Meaning that the me seems to, because the me seems to have that sense of being real. I am real, therefore, yeah, exactly. So there's an I, there's a you, there's an object, there's a subject, there's an object.
Stop being real. There's just no recognition, and it stops this from being real. It was just never real.
It's just yes. Yeah. There's no reality. There's no unreality either. It's not real or unreal. It's not empty or full. It's not nothing or everything. It's none of those things. It's impossible to express or to explain or to have any knowledge of anything. This is unknowing.
Yeah, yet a lot of speakers talk about nothing and everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can say that. I mean, it doesn't have any. They also say that doesn't have any meaning.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Like what?
So I mean, you can say that. You can say nothing and everything, or I mean, I prefer to just say, well, it's unknowable. It doesn't matter. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's unknowable. It's unknowing. It's what is. What is doesn't really get you anywhere either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Immediacy.
Or this is it.
Yeah.
So when you say this is it, this chair, you don't know what that chair is.
No, well, no, nothing that knows anything. Nothing knows anything.
Yeah.
Nothing knows what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
Amazing. There is nothing that knows what's going on.
Yeah. We don't know what a chair is. Yeah.
Not knowing. It's
Yeah.
a bit weird about knowing. I don't know what that means. Knowing. What does it mean? I'm a bit baffled with that.
No.
This is
utility. It's connected to utility, isn't it? Knowing.
Well, then it's just
use. And
right.
we know that this message is useless.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, that's the weird because when we leave this place for survival, utility, and that's where knowing.
But utility can just happen is as a response to the objects.
Yeah, like
if
we
you
all
like.
know what a chair does.
You know, there's an instant.
Okay,
There's
so
not.
you don't need to.
No.
Yeah.
And who's going to know, right?
Right. There's what I'm saying is that there's nothing that has any requirement to know anything. That idea that me has to kind of control everything and make sure that everything is known. Well, that's kind of bullshit. Not kind of bullshit. It is bullshit.
There's still desire to know things, but it's rooted in a preference.
Yeah, well, attraction to certain things. Yeah, there's a draw towards certain things, and you know, there's just a draw towards it. Do you ever know that thing that you're drawn towards? Well, I don't. You know, it can just be a draw toward go attraction, repulsion. You know?
Like the desire to go to the convention in Denver.
Right.
And be in the conversation to hear more about.
Well, there can be a
topic.
desire for that. There can be a pull towards it, or a repulsion away from it. Yeah. Sure.
Have you ever heard of somebody having the sense of me just spontaneously falling away without being exposed to this conversation?
Oh, there's plenty. That probably. I mean, there's no knowing about that aspect of it, but probably that happens more than anything else.
And this.
Because well, you wouldn't know, would you? I mean, you wouldn't. There's nobody counting.
Yeah.
But also remember that what we're talking about is this is just the quality of the child. This is just childishness, childlikeness, or however you want to describe it. This is what we're describing. This is why this is known. Everybody here had that sense. There was a sense of that. So this is a kind of remembering in a way. It's, you know, this is already what is. It always has been this. You know.
The feeling that you mentioned of what was it? Everything being crunchy when you were a kid. What was it?
Oh yeah, it's something like everything felt crushed. It was everything crushed. Yeah.
And yours was
Something.
inside out. Then.
Yeah.
This is. That's what you're describing. Right?
Yeah, I had a sense.
You had some knowing.
There was a
of
sense
this at a very young age, and you were able to articulate it.
In some
and
way.
then it was misunderstood as being something that there's something wrong by others.
Yeah. There was some attempts to try to express that. Yeah, and I think that happens a lot. You know, it could like kids express those things, and adults think, oh, you're just, you know, you're just going through something. It's a bit weird. Where did you get that from, or something? You know, or they throw all of their toys out the window. And, you know, why did you do that? Something wrong with you. Well, actually, you know, there's just extreme, extreme, whatever, a huge emotion of some kind, a huge sense of contraction that did that exploded in the supermarket or wherever it was. But that is considered to be outside of social norm. Sorry, you've done something wrong. This is very obvious, very normal, very natural, very what is and this is totally known to that. It's known there. It's already everything.
So this lifelong sense of feeling like there's like a distortion, like the perception of reality is not, something isn't right. It doesn't feel right. There's something, I'm missing something here. There's something bigger here, like a big, fat joke's on you, like this is.
Well, that's pretty harsh, but yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, but yeah, there's a sense.
But I've always been open to the
Yeah.
idea that the questioning the perception of reality.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Lifelong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All of that is.
That is really just some ember of.
It's something it's something that is seeking the truth, and in its seeking, everything seems hidden. Everything is hidden. What is hidden through the energy of seeking.
So you can't say it's a remembrance because there's nothing that would be remembering.
Yeah, you could quite, yes, you could express it like that. I'm using that word remembering as for want of a better word. It is a sense that this is already what is.
Dismembered.
All there is this. There's a sense of that. There's a resonance. Resonance is perhaps better. I'm not going to use very good words here. You will use shit words. Yeah, all the words I use will be shit. Yeah, sorry about that. But words are shit. Expressing this, no matter how flowery they are.
The Indian saints and sages have used things like Sat Chit Ananda, which is being awareness, bliss.
Yeah.
Tattvamasi, which is thou art that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean, like, for instance, to describe that reality they're talking about, to use the words being awareness, bliss?
All of those things seem, I don't know all of those different traditions, but what I get a sense of from having gone into many of them is that they are all forms of teaching that have got a particular path and a particular process of getting somewhere, of actually getting to certain points. It's kind of like you're going up to Everest and you're at base camp, and then you're at the next one, and then you're at the next one. You know what I mean? So you're reaching upwards to a high point.
I'm not talking about the paths. I'm talking about, because these are like statements that they're not talking about a path. They're saying about the quality of existence or whatever reality, right, is Satchitananda, which is this beingness, aware consciousness, and bliss. And it reminds me a little bit of what you said yesterday, that all there is love, right? You keep using sometimes.
Yeah, but a lot of it, that's why I very occasionally will say that that's sort of pushed, that one. If I'm pushed, then I would say that. But the thing is, because people will turn love into bliss, for example. They'll turn it into something which is about blissfulness, or something which is not unconditional, it's conditional. It's just the bits that I want. I'll have these bits, I don't want those bits. Yeah. So this is the lotus flower and dog shit. It's the same. But that's not, we don't want that part. We want the flower, that's what it's about, But that's not, this is what I mean, when that language starts to turn into something which is about making it a beautification of something. In a way, it's sort of looking at one side. It's trying to go, this is important, this is not important. So it's unconditionally neutral. This is neutrality.
But a neutrality that allows for mountains and valleys.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. There's nothing not allowed, it's just what is.
So what does it mean that it is all neutral? Just that there is no concept of good and bad and high and low, and is that when you say
yes, that's what is meant by that,
outside of that, the right and wrong and dualistic stuff, what about certain alivenesses for certain things, or just like
just preference.
Preference.
Yeah, there's a move to attraction, repulsion.
So like applying to relationships or even work.
Yeah, relationships, food, apparent relationships anyway, apparent, whatever it is. Food, things, everything. Attraction, repulsion, for no one.
David, some have said that falling away is like falling asleep. Is that a fair statement?
Well, yeah, falling asleep, yeah.
But yet we say it's more alive.
Falling away is like falling asleep. Yeah, you could. It's the end of seeking. Seeking that which seeks falls asleep. Yes, never to wake up again. So it's I don't know what. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, why not? Yeah. It's less threatening, isn't it, than saying this is death, which immediately puts people, oh God, shit, something's going to kill me. It's a very dramatic thing to do. It's interesting that there is no me in deep sleep. There's no. Every night, everybody goes to sleep, happily goes to sleep.
What about dreams?
Sure, dreams seem to happen. Yeah. Doesn't have to be a me there. They can just be dreams.
When you get dreams, do you see yourself as a me, or it's just like a body doing things on the dream?
It's just that, there's not a storyline. There's just random shit that goes on.
Well, that happens in dreams anyway.
Yeah, exactly. No, but just random stuff. Yeah.
So pretty much like how it is here for you.
Yeah.
Whether it's dreaming or
being
awake.
Exactly the same. It's exactly the same. Yeah.
Because for me, it's whether I'm dreaming or asleep. There's a certain amount of me.
There's a story. But very often when
more so here than there.
Yeah, sure. But exactly. Yeah, it's funny. Well, in the dream, there can be that story, but then actually there's another aspect of sleep where there's no story. There's a deep going into nothing, and in a way that's probably vital for the body to actually get a break. That's my sense of it.
Yeah.
If without that break from there being a constant meing, or seemingly constant meing anyway, there's just it would be quite tense. I think it can make you very tense. That
I think some have done studies that if you do that, they become slightly psychotic.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. I'm not surprised about that. Yeah.
Well, we only get 1 to 1.5 hours of deep sleep on average, so that's not that much of a break.
But it's enough.
It's necessary.
Yeah, it's enough. Perhaps that's the rest.
Well, I don't want to interrupt.
Sure.
Can I grab a paddleboard real quick?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
You want to get the door?
If you want to, thank you. Yes, please.
Sorry, guys. Now the YouTubers really know we're in California.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely California.
Where did you come in from?
I don't think I
He did walk that way.
I don't know the back. We are supposed to be in that room. Yeah.
So is there a feeling is there ever feelings like nervousness or self-consciousness or anything like this?
There was, well, I mean, David, what seemed to be that sense of me, was very nervous person. There was a great deal of nervousness about expressing anything, especially in front of other people. You know, so this would not have happened within that that seemingly previous life. Yeah.
Is there a feeling in the body that would potentially relate to nervousness now, like the same feeling in the body, but not a label of nervousness because there's not a meaning?
No, not really. It's different now because that was all to do with a sort of self-consciousness. If you sort of self-consciousness,
so
or
there's no more self-consciousness.
Well, there's no me there,
Not
so it's a bit.
right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a self-consciousness. There's certain things that I, would express, and it's not. It doesn't mean that there's just like a kind of like a. There's a certain expression that seems to be here. It's a certain expression that expresses this or whatever. I wouldn't suddenly be able to play the violin or something, or be confident with talking about quantum physics or something. But there's nothing that knows that here. So this is just being what it is. Just expressing this is very natural. So this is just naturally what it is. Yeah.
So there are no more preferences.
No, there are definitely preferences. Yeah.
And
Oh God,
pulls,
yeah.
You like that.
Yeah. Sorry.
So you get like a pull to choose something, and you just go along with it.
I would go towards certain things that I like and away from other things that I don't like. Yeah. This body knows what it likes, what it doesn't like, without there being a me there. Doesn't. I mean that. So does that. Don't need a me to fight to know what you like and what you don't like. It's instinctive. That's all. Yeah.
What would happen if nobody said any more things?
Then there would be no more responses.
Would we just sit here until 6 o'clock?
Oh yeah. Oh sure. Yeah. But there's nothing to say.
And there wouldn't be any thoughts around that?
No. Oh no. Because there is nothing.
There would be a thought, but it wouldn't be yours, or?
Well, it would be a sort of sense that I should keep the conversation going.
Right.
No. Because there isn't. This isn't trying to get somewhere. This is absolutely happy to just be. There's nothing here that is trying to get that to understand something, because there's nothing to understand.
And there's nothing there that's trying to help.
No.
Here.
How could this help? I mean, what could it help to do? It's absolutely impossible. There's nothing to help because it's already everything. There's nothing to find. Amazing. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
It's not about understanding anyway.
No. Right.
So I have a deep pull towards trying to help people.
Yeah, that can just be natural. There doesn't have to be a me there to do that either.
Not like what you said, the body's just doing it.
Yeah, it's just doing it.
Right.
Yeah, there's a child, there's a response, or whatever. There's a person that's in a difficult situation, and there's a response. It doesn't have to be, but there can be, and it could change
based on the body.
Just based on what that is going on there.
So nothing personal.
Nothing personal. No.
Obviously, from this perspective, there is no, for many of us who sort of have these past trauma, childhood stuff,
Yeah.
and so on. There are some people who say that you don't work through those,
Yeah.
and this kind of seeking is just a kind of a spiritual bypass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but sure. I mean, unfortunately, that has there's that ideology of becoming involved in that. You have to become better. All of that is about being better, right? So, in fact, actually, it's an interesting thing is that ideology of going into story. That's the bypass. It's the bypass is to just continue with the story.
Can you just say that again?
Well, there's in psychology, there's a lot of people that talk about this kind of this what's being expressed here as being a kind of bypassing, but actually what they mean is that you have to work through different issues. If you work through them psychologically, and there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to that process, and it's all about becoming better, and achieving the end of your trauma or whatever it is, this kind of thing. And all of that is about seeking, and all of that is about a bubble of bypassing in exactly, it is a story about bypassing what is, because all there is this. There's just immediacy.
That's funny that
Yeah,
they're
interesting.
both throwing the bypass at each other.
Well, it's not a throwing of bypassing at one another. There's just the story, meing, the nature of meing, seeking, and all of that is constantly going on. Within what is. So this isn't throwing anything, but there is from that perspective, this is very, very challenging, because it says that all of the investment in trying to get somewhere is completely futile.
So if there was a body that experienced trauma, and there was a spontaneous falling away of a me, isn't there still a body that experiences trauma and might still exhibit symptoms that are, if the body is traumatized?
Yep.
And that when steps
The me can
be
fall
taken to relieve the body of that suffering?
There can be a quality of trauma in the body, even though there's no me. Yeah.
But if there's no me, then maybe it's not suffering. Maybe it just is, and nothing needs to be fixed.
Okay.
I mean.
Well, no, you said it. Yeah.
Are you agreeing?
I'm saying that's what is. Yeah, I'm saying that's what is, and there isn't anything that needs to be fixed, because nobody can fix that. Nobody can fix anything. Trauma can contract the body, and there is a reaching naturally for something that's going to relieve that trauma. It happens completely naturally. There's nobody who needs to do that. And it can be alcohol, or it can be plant medicine, or it can be something else. It's something that's going to relieve trauma. Some of those things will damage the body. Others of them won't. But it's still a reaching for that, which is spontaneous, naturally occurs. Doesn't need anybody to do any of that.
It doesn't need anybody to do any type of healing, because the body will just release.
The body is
eventually.
healing. The body just heals itself. But the body just naturally heals itself.
Eventually.
But I mean, the things that we consider to be, oh, that's awful, that person's addicted to whatever it is that they're doing. They're addicted to heroin or whatever it is. How terrible. There is a natural quality there of contraction in the body that's very, very tight, and trauma or whatever. Reaching towards heroin is actually quite natural. It's just that's all that there is, heroin. There isn't a whole range of other things that are possible for everybody. There's just that. That's what's available for that person. So there's a movement towards a reaching towards that, which does do exactly that job. Brilliantly. Absolutely brilliantly.
What about the overdose? It's just a story.
Well, there can be that can seem to happen, but in a certain way, that's the end of the story. The end of tension. There's nothing right or wrong about any of this.
So
nobody does that. It just seems to happen. There's not saying this is good or this is bad. I'm just saying that there's a natural mechanism here where there's contraction, and that contraction goes towards something where there's less tension. And there can be a whole variety of things that body goes towards, which is going to relieve tension. Some of that is destructive to the body, some of that isn't.
So is it a story also to think of like reincarnation?
Oh, well, reincarnation is absolutely a story, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely a story of continuation of me, yeah, over several lifetimes, just to make sure that you keep going.
So when the body dies, which is hard?
Well, no, all there is this. There's just this. The body can die or not die. It's always this.
What does this become when the body dies?
What do you mean? What does this become when the body? What are you talking about? Which bit?
Right now I'm thinking, oh my God, this is it for me. For the body dies.
Well, the body dies. The body dies. It's just a breaking down of that structure. Yeah.
Does perceiving end?
Does perceiving end when the body dies? Well, I mean.
Seems like it would.
Well, me ends as well. When the body dies, the me also dies. There's nothing to then power the me.
But for a being that already has dropped a me sense, what is different when the body dies?
Oh, nothing. It's just.
But there wouldn't be any more perceiving because there's nothing perceived through.
But there's nothing to perceive anyway.
Because it's all one, just one, right?
Because, well, yes, you could say it's all one, but one, yeah. Difficult to say. What knows that it's one? In order to define something as one, you kind of have to be outside of it to say, oh, that's one. 1, 2. So that's why they call it non-duality, not two.
So not two.
It's not two.
So would it be safe to say that there's no knowing of what's going on right now?
No.
And there's no way of knowing what will happen when the body dies?
Oh, right. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Right.
This is unknowable.
This topic makes my jaw ache and clench so hard.
Yeah. It can be that. You know, getting ready to fight or run. And it also can be completely opposite. It's just, oh, thank God I don't need to do any of that shit anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I used to listen to Tony, if I was really tense, I'd actually listen to Tony and be able to go to sleep. It was a way of actually kind of being able to fall asleep when I was very tense, you know. So it's different people find this different.
Well, there's so much, there is this huge sense of relief. There's nothing to do, you know, but the body is like not on board with whatever thought. It's like enamored with the idea of being relieved, and the body is like, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're both here. Both of those are the paradox.
Yeah, they can do that. Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's just what's happening here. Apparently.
So do you have any words of wisdom for if you're trying to help someone?
I don't have any words of wisdom. I just have to say that.
How long is it going to take you to say that?
There's definitely no words of wisdom.
Words per se.
Yeah.
But if one is trying to help someone who's you know that they're suffering, they know that they're suffering. And their body is demonstrating that whatever is being manifested in the body, whether it's a heart attack or cancer or whatever it is. Is it the idea that what that particular body is experiencing is it's simply its response to what needs to happen? That's all that matters.
It's just what's happening. That contraction and building up of tension, let's say, in that body is what seems to be happening. Yeah. And there can be a response to that. There can be a response there that wants to respond to that that tension that's going on. There could be a response to that. Yeah. Might not be as well. It's not good there's no good and bad about it. It can be a response to that.
I mean, I think I heard yesterday that you're also a healer of sorts, do you think? That you actually
Well, that's what my background was in Chinese medicine, yes. Yeah.
Do you still do that?
I do. I work I do consultations to work with consultations. I talk to people about health issues that they might have. Yeah.
Yeah. But you still do that.
Mhm. Yeah.
So somebody comes, like Hamid was saying, who's also an acupuncturist.
Okay.
Comes with backache and this and
Yeah.
a divorce and whatever.
Right.
You listen. You do what healers usually do, right? You listen, maybe put some needles, maybe give some herbs.
I don't do treatments anymore, but I talk to people about what's going on with their health. Yeah.
You don't talk non-duality. You don't tell them you don't exist.
I don't talk to them about that particular thing often. No, I don't describe that. I don't describe that to them. No.
Because it's just a story, right? You're going along with.
Well, there's a story that can seem to be going on. Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah. Yes. That does seem to happen. But what is your question about that?
I mean, for me, the question was that wouldn't the highest help, as a healer myself, wouldn't the highest help be to to kind of bring this truth that, you know, all your suffering is because of this identification and the story. I mean, I'm just putting it out there.
I mean, the idea there seems to be that there is a sort of highest help, or there's something that is trying to get somewhere with what you're doing as a healer. So there isn't any of that here. I'm not trying to get anywhere when I'm talking to people about health or whatever.
But I'm coming to you because I have backache. So,
sure.
So are we not going to get to me not having backache anymore?
Well, there can be suggestions about why that may, why there may be backache there. Sure. You know, like but that doesn't. There's no. It doesn't mean that there's an investment of trying to get that person to do something.
So again, you're going back to like this idea of response.
It's a response.
I'm coming to you, my back hurts, and you might respond and say do this and this, but we've got no agenda, no investment.
That's just what it is. That can be, things can be without there needing to be a me. There's trying to get somebody to do something, for what purpose? What is the agenda there, to become a bodhisattva or to, do you know what I mean? To get credits. I mean, what is it?
Compassion? How about compassion?
But compassion, what does compassion mean? Compassion, that is expressing that compassion means that it means that there is a sort of giving of oneself to somebody else. That's considered to be what a compassion is. That is a very particular and kind of conditional ideology of compassion, right? Compassion is already everything, so it doesn't have a direction of any kind. This is compassion.
So then, I just want to continue riffing on this. So let's say you just said this is compassion. Compassion is all there is.
Yeah.
And then, so if I was subjected to human trafficking, say,
yeah,
I probably wouldn't be able to say this is compassion. Like if I was a victim of human trafficking.
Well, if you have this story of being a victim of human trafficking, then no, you would be in a story about me being a victim of human trafficking. And that would be a very intense sufferance. Yeah.
But like in your state, there would be no suffering if you were in that situation.
There would definitely be suffering.
There would still be suffering.
Oh, there would. Well, I mean, there would be pain. There would be difficulty. There would be all kinds of things that would go on with all of those, the brutality of what seems to go on with that, those kind of things. But there wouldn't be a story about it.
A story of saying it's bad.
A story of there being, this happened to me. This is my story. I am a victim of such and such. This is about me being a particular thing, which is a victim of, a crime or whatever it is. There's just what there is, which is pain, discomfort, all of those things, an escape from that, and then just what is. There's no story associated with it. That the story magnifies the sufferance tenfold. the me magnifies that. That's the story, because it keeps on going round and round and round and round, more with more imagination around it, and and in-depth aspects of that story. And the contraction is held in the body.
And there's nothing we can say, for example, that nothing like that would ever happen to you because you're at a different state, right?
No, definitely not. That's got nothing to do. No, that can apparently happen to anybody. There's nothing that's this is just because there's nothing here just because there's nothing, it doesn't mean that you sort of become immune to people that are energy that is about destruction or something like that. No, not at all. This doesn't mean that you're somehow you can navigate life in the right way and make $1 million. I mean, I can prove that to you. It's not that.
There's no suffering or resistance to the suffering. There's no imaginary suffering, right?
The sufferance is in the way that we're describing it. Sufferance is me.
But what she was talking about, or like if you were trafficked, or let's say heaven forbid, you're raped and beaten or something, there will be pain.
Oh yeah.
And there might be
totally
fear.
Oh, absolutely, totally.
Right? But there's not going to be a sense of why did this happen to me?
Right.
What did I do wrong?
Right.
I didn't deserve this.
Right.
That's all imaginary.
Well, that's all me. That's all the parts of the story of me, and those things replay over and over again in that. The animals will have very extreme trauma. They can go into a fight or something like that, and it's full on. Have you seen bears fighting or something like that? When they separate, that one will move over there, and there'll be shaking that happens, and relief of all of that. That just happens spontaneously because that's the most pleasurable thing for that body to do, is to do that. Humans can be trapped, and the nature of the me, that contraction holds that tension inside. It doesn't do anything with it. It just is part of my story, and that can carry on for in the story 20 or 30 years, with tension building up behind it. Yeah.
This reminds me that Ramana Maharshi, the Indian sage, had cancer and a tumor on his arm.
Yeah.
And everybody around him was so concerned to find Ayurvedic treatments and West allopathic treatments, and they wanted him to go to surgery. Everybody was so concerned, and he was not. Like there would be these Ayurvedic doctors making all kinds of concoctions for him, and he would give them to somebody else. So it's an example of, how can you be in pain? Obviously, those can breathe. It was all.
Well, I would call that stupidity, but you could say that he was an Indian sage. But
he allowed himself to be subjected to all these treatments.
Okay.
He wasn't bothered by any of them. He wasn't invested on being treated, on being healed, so he allowed.
But that's a different thing. There's no. If you have got an arm that's going gangrene, then there is a natural instinct to try to resolve that.
And they did, and he allowed that.
But it's not about allowing that. It's it's an internal mechanism that actually goes towards that which is moving towards something more pleasurable than your arm hanging off. Do you know what I mean? It's not. It's an instinctive process. Animals do that all the time. They can go to areas of water which has got a different quality in there. They bathe a certain area in the water. There's an instinctive process. They will eat certain things because they think about it. It's just a response. It's just going on, instinctive response. There's no, I don't need any. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's a sort of idea that somehow that's a sort of higher. There's a sort of higher spiritual value in the going beyond the body of some kind.
He wasn't doing it like that. It was more like the knees around him. I was just saying that the knees around were very bothered. It's not like pain was there.
Right.
But I'm just saying along the same line, pain can be there.
Yeah.
There wasn't an extra layer of
Okay.
suffering.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
We had an old dog and passed away a year ago or so, and remember the last month of his life.
Yeah.
He was clearly declining and
Yeah.
losing bodily function.
Yeah. Sure.
Unable to walk.
Yeah.
Kind of lost his mind.
Yeah.
It was really kind of informative watching him.
Yeah.
It felt, and I don't know if it was my projection or not, but it felt like he wasn't telling himself stories about it.
No.
It was just like something that was happening.
Yeah.
He would still go on,
Yeah.
living around and
Sure.
hit the wall and this and that, and just like, okay,
yeah, that's it.
It's
Well,
like,
there's just a quality of energy in the body. It can only do a certain amount.
but it's in
And that's what it does.
Us humans,
Yeah, you think.
were like,
Yeah, sure.
oh my God, he must be like suffering. He
Sure,
must be
yeah,
this, he
yeah,
must
sure.
be that.
Yeah.
But he was just like
No,
doing
no,
what
no,
what
yeah.
was before him.
Yeah. But that's it. There's only a certain amount of energy, and it just does what it can do.
Yeah.
And that's it. It doesn't do any more than it can do. It just does that. It's very efficient. So it just does that. And yes, there's that whole projection of me onto that, what it should look like, what it could do, or whatever. I mean, that's just nonsense. Yeah. Sure.
I was just curious, in your own sort of before the me died, or just dissolved, or was never there, did it, right now, like, this message used to, like, have sort of an opening quality to it, but the body is really just tightened up now.
Oh, that body.
Yeah, this body.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was anything like that in your history.
Well, there was. I mean.
It used to be relief, and now it's the opposite.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Well, I mean. There was a sort of desperation, I guess. That's what I remember. It's a sort of desperation for something to change.
Well, there was hope before in that desperation.
Yeah.
There's no hope now.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's why the body is just like.
Yeah, sure. It's just what seems to be happening. It's all I can say is that there's just that, going between a sense of relaxation perhaps and a sense of contraction, and nobody's doing it. Nobody's fault either. It's a lot of ideas that there's something, me is always very much associated with, that's something that I've done wrong. Oh, I fucked it up now. I was doing so well, and now it's all back into the contraction again. It's like, what did I do wrong? Was it something that I ate or something? But obviously not.
Yeah. And it does still feel like there's a sort of a procedure. Like an internal procedure, like it's sort of engaged with that sort of that uncomfortable.
A procedure.
Like just a mental procedure, like to it's almost like
or a set of rules that go on, or a set of.
No, just kind of stepping out of it to look at it.
Right.
Yeah.
well, I mean, this is what is the end of procedure. This doesn't require maintenance. This is the end of maintaining a certain state. You know, that's the freedom of it. This is the end of the maintaining of a certain conditions. You know, that's the me always thinks that it has to sort of micromanage everything.
Yeah, so it would almost be like, would it almost be like, oh, there's discomfort, nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's just already there.
Well, there might be that process that goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there might be exactly that sequence that goes on there. Yeah, and then there's just what is, and there can be pain. Yeah, for sure. Unfiltered pain, actually. Yeah.
Izzy once described it as like the tension or the contraction of me is like a very neural type of pain and discomfort.
Can be, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how it's kind of experienced.
Yeah.
It seems love has I don't know, like a relaxed, the word love, I don't know how love comes into the picture, but it seems like, if I could describe it like a good tool, because it just feels like
yeah.
Even in the dream or the illusion or whatever, it just feels like something that doesn't create an opposition, not as a person, but it just seems to move.
Yeah. That's what is sort of. There's a sense there of a certain quality of love. What you're talking about is.
Yeah.
I mean, love is such a people, as I've said, sort of can define that in a very conditional way. But you could say that all there is love. You could say that.
Yeah, it's not like I don't know what it is. It's not using love.
No.
And it's not like the relative kind of love, but it's
an openness.
It's not even surrender, but it feels like a dropping somehow. To like a default to
it
doesn't feel like boundary there somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mind is more the apparent mind feels more like it's trying to get something.
Well, yeah,
love feels more like it's
I mean, the mind is love, and me is love.
Right.
The contraction, the nature of contraction.
It's very
is
subtle,
love.
though, the way the use of the word love. It's not excluding anything. I'm not saying that it's excluding.
It's unconditional.
I'm just saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not for anybody. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said the nature of contraction is love. Is that what you said?
The contraction also is love. Yeah, love is all there is. That's the way of talking about that. Which is not normally how we just talk about love.
Are there words to describe the word love in the context in which you just used it?
Immediacy. All there is immediacy. All there is this.
So you might say that love and hate are the same.
hate is included in love. Yeah.
Just like there's a attraction and a repulsion.
Well, attraction and repulsion are both love.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're technically.
So there's no opposites.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When you say no opposite, and it feels like there's no need, it's relative what I'm showing. It feels like there's no need for any one idea of a person to defend itself. That feels like love. Like there's no need for.
Well, defense can happen.
For any react. Yeah, it could all arise. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Defense can happen.
Mm-hmm.
That would still be love.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that love can move into conditions quite quickly. You know, people can start to put, edges around what love means quite quickly. For it to be absolutely everything.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's subtle. It's not like pushing or pulling anything.
Right.
When I say no defense, it's like, I can't describe it in words.
Well,
it's hard.
Yeah,
I want to say it's like the ground of being, embracing, not embracing.
Well, you just all
it's
there
like
is love.
An inner sense as everything arises. That there's nothing separate to resist it. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, all there is love. That's about as good as you can get, really. It's not. You don't. It's not. It's not. It is not. We will never. The only thing that's, in a certain sense, trying to define this is me. The only thing that's trying to kind of, do all of that. There's no. All there is here is just what is. All there is this. There doesn't need to be that sort of attempt to try to do anything with that at all.
That's what I mean, I think.
Right. Well, but I mean, what is being expressed there is still trying to identify something. That's what I get a sense of.
I don't know. I didn't want to. Nothing seemed to move with it. It was something noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very limiting for me not to be able to contextualize or to have a narrative.
Yeah.
It's, because a lot of, I think, media is for security.
Yeah,
it's like knowing, where you are and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just decades,
Sure.
And the build up of that contraction.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like quicksand. You don't know where you are really.
Yes. and yet, I mean, all of that, which was just said, was just, appearing and not claimed.
Mm.
But there's that need to claim.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Because it's so uncomfortable in the body.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. It can also be simply very relaxing, and that seems to fluctuate between.
Yeah, it's just sucked in the last week as well.
Yeah, sure.
But there was something else I was going to say. I forgot. Maybe I need to come back.
Yeah, sure.
California.
I thought these were decorations.
He moves.
They're not.
He really moves a lot.
Yeah. This is a happening place.
Yeah, right.
David, would you say that after the dropping of me, life seems more fun?
Fun. I mean,
enjoyable, relaxing.
There's just no seeking, any more seeking. There's no more seeking.
And that leads to.
I mean, would you like me to say? Tell me what you'd like me to say, and then I can actually add it on to.
You mean you forgot what I? No.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It makes you feel great. What was the thing that we saw it on somebody's T-shirt? No bad days.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it.
That.
No bad days,
yeah.
But no good days either.
No, we'll erase that one.
It's not monotonous, is it?
No, I think that's an interesting thing. There's no boredom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
No boredom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Forward.
That's boredom is like trying to get somewhere. Subtle kind of seeking all the time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Come on, show me something new, better. You know. It's like that. So then that's not there.
Nowadays, people look at their phone rather than maybe going into the imagination.
Sure, yeah, it's kind of always stimulating, like it's nervous stimulation, I would call that.
Is that just a story, or is it really affecting the body? The technology?
Well, I mean, technology obviously has there's some effect that's going on. Yeah, it seems like, yeah. How do you mean? Is it a story? What are you talking about, the story?
Because there's nothing really. So we don't have to worry about it.
Oh, you don't know. Well, I mean, if you're talking about needing to worry about things, because they're important or something like that. Well, there's nothing important.
So I can let my son play on his phone all the time.
Well, I mean, there's going to be something there that feels that it either feels that there's a that's wonderful or not. It's just what's happening. There's no right or wrong. There's actually no good or bad about it. There's just a response there about your son using computers a lot.
I'm glad he's not here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we have to go there now.
Right.
So if you have a child,
yeah. If I have a child,
there's no, and the me is fallen away, which means they're.
Well, first of all, you don't have. This doesn't have anything. You know,
if there's a person in your life that's dependent on you, seemingly, that's young and trying to navigate.
Are we going to go into responsibility?
Yeah.
There isn't any responsibility. There's no responsibility. Responsibility doesn't exist. It's just part of me. It's part of the story of me. Responsibility.
Okay, let me rephrase it, and I'm going to bait you into this question differently.
Great. Let's have it.
Let's say that some woman pops up and says, "Hey, I didn't tell you, but I had your son. He's 5, and I want you to take him half the time."
Right.
How would parenting this person? Would there be any trying to shepherd this person through the world and keep them safe?
I mean, this is a hypothetical situation, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about it. Well, it's very difficult to talk about hypothetical situations because it's like a complete story, isn't it? It's just entirely a story. Basically, all I can say is that there is attraction and repulsion. There is just energy that goes towards and away, and that doesn't require any kind of ideology around it. There is no requirement of a mother to love their child. That connection that is with that child is there or not, and then there is a following through of that connection.
So would the attraction and the repulsion come into play with you and your son in the decision of
absolutely
making a
yeah,
decision
absolutely.
about whether or not to let him
Absolutely.
have a phone at 7?
There will be an energy there that sees that what's going on and responds to it.
But sometimes, like, there is that energy for me to tell him no.
But well,
Don't write, but I don't know. I'm a little confused about the one that is watching the thing, whatever. That says, "Why do you have to go there? Why do you have to go to that pool?"
well, that
Why
is
is it
that's a story. That thing that process of kind of, you know, should I do this? Shouldn't I do that? You know, all of this kind of thing, all of that, you know, ideology about what is the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do. Well, that surely is like a story of, you know, my, you know, story of me. There's just a response there to what's going on. There's a preference. A preference. It's just a preference.
Like on a more level that's not so theoretical for you. So if you have clients or you set up appointments with clients to give them health consultations, somehow you find yourself going or meeting them on time.
Seems to be, yeah.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's no meaning in it, it's just that attraction or repulsion.
Well, there's a draw to engage in that, or not. Maybe there, you know, maybe one day they will, you know, who knows? There's not a. All there is this. There's just immediacy. There's just what is. So that can do anything.
Suggestions may come out of what they could do.
Yeah, or it just made that whole idea, that whole notion of desiring to engage with you know, a client or whatever you're describing just might not happen. It may not. It's possible. There isn't anything that's fixed or that's like an absolute thing. You know, it's all free. There's no telling about any of it.
And no expectations and no dependency.
No.
Approval seeking, all that stuff's just.
Well, that's all just a sort of game playing of me, you know. Me as a businessman, as you know, it's about, you know, a business deal that's being made, you know. You know, so it's kind of like it's like a deal. It's always about dealing, you know. Yeah. I mean, you know, that's all just the quality of contraction. It's still the same old contraction.
Do you feel like there's a flow to life?
A flow?
Yeah. Like a kind of a...
Well, that flow is a kind of little bit tricky because it's kind of like a flow is a movement in a way. So it's sort of one place to another place. You're flowing to something else. I mean, I don't know how you're describing it, but often there's like you're in the flow or you're not in the flow. And if you're not in the flow, you're a little bit fucked up, really. So you better get in the flow, because then you'll be okay. So it's all about becoming, and all about becoming is a story. So as far as this is concerned, no, there is no flow. There's just what is. There's nothing happening.
Can you influence that at all?
No, definitely not.
No. Kind of universe mirroring what we put out.
How you influence it. How would you influence it?
Because me and the universe are one, anyways.
So in that case, how would you influence what already is? All there is this. There's no influence. Influence is one, influencing something else. Two is influence.
Would just be choices.
Nobody makes any choices. There are no choices. There's no choice.
And it wouldn't be decisions either? Decisions
No
made?
decisions are absolutely impossible.
There's no direction in life. You just kind of...
No, there's no
just respond to what is.
Yeah, there's just what is. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So there's nothing to feel bad about or good about?
There's just, feeling good can happen, or feeling bad can happen. There's no right or wrong to that, if that's what you mean. No.
Mixing levels.
Where?
We're mixing levels.
Mixing levels.
Yeah, because we're operating from the me, and then we're trying to make sense of, we keep coming back to that. Like we're trying to make sense of.
Yeah, me. That's what me does. Me tries to make sense of this.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of our questions are coming from like. So if I was like you, what would I do it? If I was there, what would I be doing it? If I.
That's the inevitable. Me inevitably tries to make something out of this, turn this into something, but all there is nothing. So it's difficult to turn nothing into something in a way.
Yeah.
But me will try to do that. It's amazing that you can talk about this, and then there's somebody will talk about this as being a teaching. They'll say, you had that when you said this, you were teaching this or wherever it was. And it's kind of like, wow, that's amazing. You can turn this, which is absolutely nothing, into something which is teaching, which is about supposed teaching about not doing anything in order to get somewhere. I could say absolutely nothing, and somebody would turn that and say, "Oh, that's a good teaching, isn't it? Just doing nothing. Yeah, that's that. Damn, he's got it. I'm just going to do that. Yeah. It's just as the me does that, it's to constantly grasp, contract. Give me something. It's like that.
Yeah, I think that the little me finds it extremely unsatisfactory to have nothing to do.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like really is like trying to grab.
Yeah. No, but not only unsatisfactory, pretty, upsetting, in a quite significant way.
Torture.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, good. Yeah.
It's something to do with controlling or not feeling like you can influence an outcome.
Yeah, Sure. Which is like a huge part of what
But
it
it
means
arises,
to be a me.
we go through the motions, it feels like there's influence, or it feels like there's planet, you know, so it's you know, you influence, well, you're not influencing really, but I don't know, I guess it just arises that way.
Yeah.
You know, you have a child, you're influencing, you know, that word's an add-on kind of, but, you know, you're directing them, so to speak.
No, I mean,
that still
nobody's
moves,
doing
that's smooth, right, but within the dream it feels that way, and it,
sure.
and it moves that way.
Well, it seems like that, yeah.
It seems like that.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop it from happening.
Right, right, yeah.
Okay. I tried my best. I'm kidding. To defend the dream a little bit.
Yeah.
Another failed attempt.
Wonderfully, yeah.
Yeah.
Is the mechanism of me, the clenching or the contracting, did you say earlier that that's knowing?
That's the attempt to know. Knowing never really, there isn't really a knowing.
I think, yeah, like in this body, the knowing feels tense.
Oh yeah, because you're holding on to everything. Yeah, you have to hold, knowing is all about holding on to everything in order to kind of keep it all together.
Yeah. So
because
the
if
things
you...
I know don't really feel all that great.
No, exactly. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah. It's like it's all about kind of having loads of plates spinning. Quick, I know that one, and then if they spin another plate, I know that as well. Oh yeah, but I have to keep that one. So you have to keep on doing it, everything, to keep knowledge going,
as opposed to
just letting it all smash, and there just not being anything that is known. There's just nothing known. I mean, there's not somebody. Nobody can do that.
Spinning though, or is that analogy just?
Well, it's an attempt to. You're attempting to kind of keep the universe together through knowledge. That's what the me's trying to do. The theory of everything. And everybody's got a theory of everything as well, by the way. Every me has a theory of everything. I mean, it depends what you want. You know, some people it's like, you know, all there is love, or all there is, and it means a very particular thing. You know, or you know, something. It's a phrase or you know, something that's held on to for dear life. You know, God, whatever. That's the theory of everything. It's not that there isn't a theory of everything, it's that there's bloody loads of them.
And somehow those theories don't stop at everything. They suggest that there's something that's going on that you can't see or experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And that's what's being.
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable theory of everything because it's kind of knows that it doesn't really know.
Yeah. But people have faith.
There you go, yeah. Faith is the ultimate, yeah, I have faith.
They always have to,
maintain the faith.
Faith can be even communicated. I mean, it can only be communicated as knowledge. Like if you ask somebody to describe their faith, you know, to a person without the faith, it might just feel like they're being told knowledge. But, just having, like, if you had like a really beneficent like uncle or something who you knew you could always count on, you know, that sense of, you know, there being some protector, you know, that's which involves space and time.
Sure. Well, there's always something that, I mean, me always wants something to believe in, and for that rock, like your favourite uncle you're talking about, to always be there. So that carries on until your uncle dies, and then it all falls apart.
Yeah, but for the religious, God will never die. So they'll just take that to the grave.
Yeah, the uncle you can always rely on. Yeah, sure, yeah.
So in the context of your speaking, meditation is just another state as well.
Yeah, of course.
Good or
Yeah.
bad,
No,
it's just like,
no, it's just meditation is just what it is. Yeah.
It's not a path to anything.
No, definitely
You
not.
might be inclined and like meditation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
and
you
might
can.
like sitting down
Yeah.
quietly.
Yeah.
But it's not a goal to anything. It's not.
Well, anything that is about, you know, me trying to get somewhere, of course, just reinforces the idea that there's me that can do something about me. It's a loop.
but obviously, like saying that there is no good or bad doesn't give us the justification to go and kill someone.
No, what is expressed here is not anything to do with justification.
Right.
So justification is just totally irrelevant. What will go on there will just go on. That's just what it is. If there's an energy there that is going to go off and kill someone, then that's what will apparently happen. This isn't stopping anything. This is completely open.
And that's a possibility.
That is a possibility. Yeah.
And it happens.
Yeah, sure.
Seems like it's a greater possibility to happen when there's a sense of me, when there's a body identifying as a me rather than just someone who's
well, yeah, maybe, but I mean, it in a certain sense, it depends on the context of that. You know, depends. There's a lot of possibilities of that. You know, it's another hypothetical thing. Yeah.
I would imagine, also, I guess this is hypothetical too, if they interviewed people who have done violent crimes, if they were in that state of having a me dropped off, or they might say like, you know, I have no idea what you're talking about, fuck off.
Well, it's possible, but also there may be just there may just be in that moment of that energy expressing itself absolutely no me at all. You know, certain situations of very often of a release of anger or a release of energy, or especially in a sort of situation where there is a sense that one needs to defend oneself, the body needs to defend itself, it's just there's no one there. But it doesn't fit with, you know, the me's sense of control of society and the way that people should behave. What is expressed here has got no rules. This is the no hierarchy, anarchy. This is an expression of that, if you like.
So that sense of control, I feel like the notion that like one can influence an outcome. I here it seems like it's because, right, like patterns of thinking essentially, right? Like you can note that like you're not your thoughts, but yet there's patterns to the thinking, or there's patterns to the thoughts, just noticing them. So is that just conditioning? Is that why like certain maybe themes of thoughts would arise or appear or be noticed? Or
sorry, can you just say that there are certain themes of thoughts that keep repeating?
Like it seems like, because I mean, it seems like, you know, like spirituality 101, right? It's like you're not your thoughts.
Right,
but
that's
it's
what
like,
I was wondering about. What you're talking about is actually, in a certain sense, it's a teaching that you're following.
Well, I mean, no, I'm just I guess referring to that.
You're referring to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so not that you're following, but
right.
There's a teaching that we're talking about here, which is about it being good, it being something that is a beneficial thing, or something that's important to be observing of the thoughts that you have.
Yeah, and I've also heard non-duality speakers like point to like, I guess when they're pointing to perception or awareness, and it's like, you know, being aware of sensory experience, sounds,
yeah. So
you know, what you're seeing, and then also being aware of, you know, thought, same idea,
yeah.
like thought arriving, thought passing.
So those kind of non-duality speakers are duality speakers, right? So there's quite a few of those.
Okay.
They talk about, they are teaching dualism. There's a teaching involved. There's an attempt to point out that there's something to be aware of.
Yeah.
So this is not a teaching. Mm-hmm. This is like totally, you know. And so the what is expressed here is that there is no possibility of anybody choosing to observe thought or not. Mm-hmm. But it can seem to happen, especially when there's a sort of the me is attached to a teaching like that, mm-hmm. where there's an idea that I'm going to get somewhere by observing my thoughts. But it's all part of that dualistic world, and there's lots of people. There's a lot of people that talk about that and call it non-duality, amazingly, but they do seem to do that because it's you know, there isn't really such a thing as non-duality. There's just all there is. That's non-duality. Mm-hmm. But there's just all there is. There's just this, and then we call that, or some people call that radical non-duality or whatever, you know. But that's just the me describing, you know, in a way, describing that group of people that talk in a particular way. But all those people that are talking in that way, all they're expressing is, all there is this. There's no teaching. There's no possibility of teaching. And that isn't a teaching, you know, which of course me will look at and say, oh, that's a teaching. It's just a radical teaching. So they'll call it radical non-duality. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. What is being expressed is as common as muck. This is total. What is expressed here is absolutely common. The most uncommon thing in the natural world, let's call it, is the human being having this ideology of dualism. That is absolutely radical. It's ridiculously radical. That dualism, totally, that's off the wall radical. That's like, wow, that's a new, that's a new version of what's going on. Everything else, plants, animals, it's just this. So humans, off the charts, kind of punk, radicalism, all of that stuff.
But they're not doing any of it. It's just a function
of
the larger brain.
Oh yeah. Well, no, it's just contraction apparently happening. Just contraction of me going on. There's nobody doing it, no. But what I'm saying is that that's a sort of, if you want to call something radical, that's pretty radical. Relative to everything else, waves, wind, trees, dogs, cats, all animal, everything that's going on, that's already just what is. Human beings' ideology or that ideological quality that comes from contraction is a radical picture. This is the most common thing, and this is totally common. This is earth, whatever, dust. It's common as muck.
So is the idea of dualism, was it a necessary part of a thing to get us humans from one piece to where we are here?
No, there's nothing. That would be an ideology of kind of progression, that we are evolving into Homo spiritus. It's like, let's go up the mountain. No. It's just all there is what is.
But didn't we create this whole crazy concept of time because time was necessary to get from point A to point B, and then everything else is based on time?
What there seems to have been is an acceleration of a kind of abstraction of the human mind. The human mind has gone into a level of complexity where abstraction of a sense of me can seem to occur. But that is done by nobody. Nobody did any of that. It's just a fever.
It sounds like we're robots.
Well, in a way, yeah.
And
in a way.
nothing's moving it.
Yeah, you could say that, robots without anybody making those robots. So, yeah.
So we're AI.
Well, somebody created AI, right? That's the thing.
We're not separate from AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. This is a philosophical argument, but there's no difference between the so-called creator and the creation.
Right, sure.
Like the one who creates the AI.
Yeah, but again,
is not any different than AI.
Yeah, sure. And the creator, creation,
God.
creates a progression in time.
Yeah.
So there's no creation. There's just this.
See, I would say that there's no creator, but you're there's no. Creation just gives it a certain.
Well, it's about origin.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It suggests origin.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're saying there's no origin?
No. No, definitely.
How does this appear?
Well, it's just this. It's just this. It doesn't have to be an origin. Why do we have to go into? Why do we have to get origin?
Origin connotes time.
Beginning, middle, end.
It's like I'm looking at you, you're looking at me.
Well, that's what's going on there. Maybe there's no me. There's no you. All there is immediacy.
David, some of us have listened for many hours to Rupert, your countryman, Rupert Spira.
Okay.
Are we starting that?
Who is from that other camp.
Yes, that's another camp. Yes, let's call it that.
That's from another camp. Okay, have you listened to Rupert?
It may have happened at some point, yes. Apparently.
But now you consider it just like any other journey, any other
No. It's just he's a teacher. That's it. Rupert is a teacher.
Teaching duality.
Well, that's what it seems. What seems to be is that there is a teaching. If there's a teaching, it can only be dualism.
And then all these journeys that people have using psychedelics, hoping to get somewhere, hoping to purify themselves, hoping to see God, hoping to
betterment,
that's the same.
Betterment, seeking within another approach, which is another method. Psychedelics become a path. It's the path of soma. Yeah.
So same pony.
So yes, same pony exactly. One trick pony, same pony, different
form,
different ribbons.
Different ribbons.
Yeah.
I mean, the hope is, through these various methodologies that people would, the idea, anyways, is to get a glimpse of the truth.
Absolutely.
And once you get the glimpse, then that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they can tell you how to do that because they know. Nothing here knows. Remember, this is like talking to a chair. I mean, it is the same thing, or a dog, or so. That's the level of response you're getting at the moment. So just to remind you of that, this is just that. It's not saying that there's anything that's known here at all. I don't know that this doesn't know anything. So there's nothing to give. Sorry, nothing to offer. I can't do it. It's just nothing. It's not there is just nothing to give.
So is that how it is for you and you? Like when you get up in the morning, is the day new? Like, and do you look in the mirror and
well, there isn't me and me. There's just what is.
And so when you look in the mirror and brush your hair, there's just what is in the mirror.
It's just an image. Yeah. Sometimes I like the image, sometimes I don't.
Like the rest of us.
Yeah. This is really obvious, there's nothing special about this. It's already everything. It's just,
These so-called negative emotions and feelings like guilt, shame, regret, those are also part of the soup.
Yeah, but some of those things are very often around me. Guilt particularly is very me. Shame again, very me. Regret, I would say, is very, very me. It's a very me thing. Of like kind of, it's all sort of based in past, what I should do, what I shouldn't do, all of those kind of things. So it's kind of all of that's wrapped up in those in those kind of things. So those don't necessarily go on, but what can go on is those immediate emotions, you could call them, or energy, which would be sort of anger, fear, grief, sadness, those sort of things. They're just more immediate qualities. There isn't a story around them, shame has a lot of story in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So would there be a sensation? Would there be a sensation, a noticeable sensation attached to a expression of anger or fear or shame?
Yeah,
there's still sensations happening.
Oh yeah, oh definitely, yeah, like very strong, yeah.
There's no embroidery story around it.
No, it's just, yeah.
So like sensations come up, but then you don't have to experience the suffering because the suffering is only for the me.
Well, yeah, the suffering is associated with the suffering is the story around those emotions which are held onto and turned into a story, and then often replayed over and over and over again.
And so, for instance, if there's like some type of things going on in the body, like an illness, let's just say a fever, but different from the way you've referred to it before.
Sure, yeah.
So there might be a notice of temperature or heat in the body, or there's just not this story, this is happening to me, this is bad.
Exactly.
That's not, but the sensations and the...
Oh yeah, all of that goes on, everything else goes on, but there isn't just this huge, long story about how, in a certain sense, like, this is punishment for a crime that I committed at a certain point in time, and all this is, this is because I didn't do this and this and this, and now I'm going to get it. Now it's so there's these sort of themes which are about sort of punishment, crime and punishment, about getting it wrong, and you should have got it right.
What about, like, let's say a fever goes super, super high, and like to the point where it could be could cause brain damage? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would there not be any fear of, like, oh, the fever is 103?
Oh, there could be huge fear.
There would be fear, like a logical thought of, like,
we've got to
I should try and manage this fever so I don't die.
Course. Oh yeah. Of course, no, but that's exactly the response, in a certain sense, that there's instincts in the body that go towards medicines or people that seem to be able to respond to that, or doctors or whatever. There can be a response to go towards that energy when there is something really difficult going on in that body.
So because the body still has the way that it's wired, it wants to quote unquote survive, but the operating system now, there's no me, but the body is going to do what it wants to do, which is not expire.
Absolutely. Why would the body want to, just because there's no me doesn't mean, okay, well, I'm just going to stand in front of the truck.
Yeah, I think there was some misunderstanding that, like, fear of death would just disappear completely.
But I mean, fear of death, in a certain sense, there's no that fear of death is irrelevant. There is an irrelevance of that ideology of death. Death is just an idea, is just a kind of concept which constantly replays.
So it'd be kind of like if you were constantly afraid of getting a fever of 105.
It's like fearing that.
Exactly.
Yes, it's like, oh shit, I better not. I better not get a fever of 105. Fuck, or whatever. It's like that.
Just an idea.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fantasy. Death is a fantasy. Yeah. Sorry.
The brain and the me. We kind of have this assumption, it's built in, that the me kind of lives in the brain. But from what I'm hearing from you, the brain can operate, do what it needs to be do, just like the body. The brain can all, and so this me, it's an overlay on everything. right? Is that what you're saying? And
Yeah,
so when you're
you could
saying
say
that
that.
the body can operate and the body can, that includes the brain can operate, right, without this additional overlay of.
Well, the brain and the body are
It's
one.
It's one.
You know, there's no separation.
Yeah.
So there is a body, which includes a brain,
Yeah. Well,
and
usually
there's a sense of contraction of energy in that body. The body energy, should I say, has got a sense of contraction to it. Yeah, which it associates with the brain and all of the other cells of the body. It's all throughout the body. But I would say that the seat of me is in the brain. Yes.
Well, what I'm saying is that usually we don't distinguish; they become one, you know, and so we almost like separated from the rest of the body. And then there's this me in here, you know, and I'm gonna uproot this me, but there'll be a brain left, and there's a body that's gonna react, and the brain and the body are gonna do their job, and this me is gonna go bye-bye.
Well, the sense of contraction in the whole of that. The whole of that just lets go.
Say that.
So there's just a sense of contraction in the whole of that just falls away.
Okay.
How do you define contraction?
I mean, I don't define contraction. It's a sense of a quality of energy.
In your body, do you have contraction?
I don't have anything. There's no before you could say with the me is a state of contraction. It knows itself through the sense of a locus, location here, you know, which is a sense of density of energy, contraction, a quality of contraction. You could say that, but I'm being very, you know, I'm just giving words to something which doesn't mean anything at all. Yeah.
So not David, but that particular body that's sitting on the chair. Does that body have any contraction?
No, not in that way anymore. No. Not in that way.
And that's kind of what happens is when there is this sense of isness, then the contraction sort of
melts.
Let's go a little bit.
It's just open. There's just an opening. All there is openness. You know, there's just it's not. It doesn't feel like that whole idea in a certain sense of is there contraction, isn't there contraction, all of that just sort of falls away. It just becomes irrelevant because there's just nothing seeking. There's no seeking. It's the end of seeking. This is the end of seeking. In a way, that's the best way I can express this, is that all there is the end of seeking. There's no more seeking, there's no more seeker, there's no more questioner. And then it's just what's left is this.
It's almost, sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
Is it the end of the sense of wonder? Because wonder is kind of like a hanging chaff or something.
I don't think it's the end of the sense of wonder. I would say it is the what is left is wonder. I mean, to Andreas's timeless wonder. I love that. I think it's brilliant. It's a great expression of that.
But there'd be not like some holding on to like a wonder.
No, I see. No.
No.
It's not like wonder, like like you're. Or I mean, that it could be, but that's not a kind of a constant state of extreme awe or wonder or something of that nature. No, it's not like that. It's the wonder of the ordinariness of everything. That everything is just what it is. It doesn't need to be anything else. That nothing needs to be added on or changed or done something to. It just is. It's okay. Everything's okay. Everything's okay. How's that? It's enough. This is enoughness. That's the wonder.
Stay with us a few more days. I think we'll all be silent.
It's not. You know, silence is just the same as speaking. Yeah.
But I'm noticing how noisy we were yesterday, and today is so much more silent.
yeah. It does seem to be like that, though, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just somehow there's. And then,
yes.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, it's often like that. But I think in one of Jim's recent groups, that there was sort of very long periods of time where there was nobody that spoke anything at all. You know, like hours and hours and hours. You know.
Did you go to see Jim?
I didn't. No, not really. I was sort of very dedicated to Tony. Yeah. So it was just him really.
It's harder to follow Tony. It's easier to follow Jim because there's some kind of language for me.
Yeah, I think it's a different people have that. You know, that it's like a different package.
But even the way he talks, it's just a little easier for somebody whose language, English, is a second language.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see.
It's easier to follow Jim that way.
I got you.
Thinking of energetically.
Got you. Okay. Oh, yeah. Maybe that's yeah. You well, yeah, exactly. You would definitely get us into that. Yeah. Sure.
Can I say one more thing about Rupert?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, and then this is just a thought. I'm wondering if there's like a time and a season, like when that is needed. So listening to Rupert is needed. It's, you know, I know because we're going back to stages and but I feel like at that time when I found Rupert, right, it was exactly what I wanted to hear, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that the inevitably that will be what me wants to hear. This is what no one wants to hear.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So this nobody wants to hear this. I mean, you can tell by the number of people that are in there. You know, if you see the difference, yeah, it's a big difference. This is not a popular, and never will be probably a popular, description or expression, message I don't like. But this is not popular.
And yet Tony has.
Oh yeah, Tony. Yeah, but
created a whole
sure.
lineage, so to speak.
Well, it's not a lineage. It's just there's a resonance with those people that are expressing that way, and that Tony has been doing this for 30, 40 years of talking about this, and he is the first person to express it in this very clear way, really. A lot of the language that we use around this is really, derived from that expression. I mean, there is no, as he will very often say, there is no Tony Parsons. There's just what is expressed, and so what is it? What seems to be expressed in that way has words that relate to this in a very clear way, a very direct way.
Tony Parsons would be like an idea of the communicator of the words, whereas the only thing that's appearing is just words.
Yeah, sure. Out of nothing, yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Those words never. These words here are different than words out there. I know that's like dualism, but because words don't have use here. Mm-hmm. They don't go anywhere.
You're talking about here in this room.
In this room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. They fall short. Yeah. Yeah.
They don't do their job.
No, they don't do their job.
They don't land on any.
Yeah.
object,
No. That's it. Well,
because words represent objects, or
Right. Yeah.
Concepts.
Well, they're defined.
Like, concepts, right? Yeah.
It's like, we know what that means. On to the next thing.
Yeah.
On to the next thing. Let's build a big picture about what we know. And here, of course, no.
But yeah, so there's no. I don't know. It just bugs this body.
Oh yeah.
That this message, it scares this body really, because this message.
I mean, I don't think it scares that body. I think that it scares me. Yeah, it's not that body, or what that body is completely okay with what is. It's fine. But the me, I don't like this at all. No, that contraction, no way. And it can feel like there's tension there. Then the activation of that, oh fuck, I better run out of here, or I better protect against this. That can create tension.
So is there some tension versus noticing tension? The noticer of tension is tension. It's been said hundreds of times. Yeah. So, right. So it's just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no two me's, right? The me that does all this
The
crazy
me can
stuff,
have two heads.
and then the me that
can have
observes the me that does all the crazy stuff.
No, me can have two heads. Can have many heads.
Oh, more.
Multiple personality.
Yeah. I find a lot of heads
Yeah.
inside of me.
There's plenty of them.
Yeah, like there's a part that wants to relax, like, okay, I'm gonna chill now, and then there's the part like, I'm gonna make something out of this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, gonna grab it. It's gonna be my new line, my new message.
And it's all just, it's one pony, many heads.
Yes. Many tricks.
One trick, many heads.
One trick.
Did he say that the contraction is caused by trauma?
that's the funny thing, is that there is no trauma. There's nothing that seems to have happened, but there is a sense that there is a sense of separateness, which in a certain way creates the effect of a trauma. But nothing's happened. It's just the body there. There's just a piece of rope on the ground, and there's an assumption that it's a snake attacking you. It's an illusion. But an illusion that can feel, yeah.
Or is it maybe just that it's a snake, like it is pain and it's tension, but it's a snake, but it has nothing to attack because it's just itself.
It's a snake. Say that again. So it's a snake that has nothing to attack. Well,
I mean, it's not threatening like a rope would be not threatening, but it's not threatening. It's not.
Everything is threatening. Because there's a sense of separateness. Everything has got a sense of threat. Suddenly, all there was is first of all there's just what is, and then there's a separateness. Oh my God, there's an inside, there's an outside. This outside could be potentially threatening. I better know it all. If I know it all, then maybe it's not going to be threatening anymore. I've got to claim all of this, because if I don't claim it and make sure that it's pinned down, then it could be threatening. So I better know everything. Knowledge becomes king. This is the story of me. And all the while, all there is this. There's just immediacy. There's just what is. All the time.
Are you familiar with Eckhart Tolle? He talks about the power of now, which is immediacy.
Yeah.
Is that the same?
So there is no power. There is no now. So what that leaves is the of. Okay. Now that's what I think about that book. Yeah, the of. Yeah. There's no power. There's no now. So it's not really. That isn't what this is expressing. No. How can there be a power?
Maybe he means to say freedom.
Maybe he does, but he also, in that book, calls himself a spiritual teacher, which is exactly what is expressed in what he's saying. So it's very clearly a spiritual teaching, which is a teaching of something that you can do about me. Me doing something about me. You might have heard that before, that kind of thing, yeah.
David, what do you think about the teaching, not spiritual teaching, but the teaching of learning how to build a house? That's a teaching.
Yeah, but it's not in that way that we're talking about.
Is that redundant though? If I want to learn how to build a house.
No. If you want to learn how to build a house, you're going to be drawn to somebody who can, show you the ropes. Yeah.
Right. That's a process in time. It involves a me. That's learning.
Well, it's a process in time. Why does it have to be a process in time? It's just you going towards somebody that shows you how to build a house. That's okay. That's just. Watching somebody do something and, mimicking that expression.
So why is that okay, but it's not okay to go to somebody who's going to teach me how to get rid of me or to find me?
Because there's I understand. No, it's a good question. Because that you're talking about is what you're talking about is, in the first place, is that there is somebody who can teach you about something which has no that there is no me. So how could it be that somebody can then engage in a teaching process about how to do something with that thing that is not, that there isn't? So it is a loop within itself. Building a house isn't. It's just building a house.
Rupert would say that we make concessions.
We make.
He says you make concessions to meet people within the dream, in the sharing.
Oh, but that's so arrogant.
I know. I'm just making a statement.
It's the deeply arrogant expression of me. Yeah, which is just that I'm at this level and that person, so I'm just going to come down to their level and talk to them at that level.
I didn't even think of it in that way.
But it will, but it's still, it's amazing, really. But it goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there can be there's no concessions. There's no, because there is no one. There's no one here that can be taught anything, or that needs to be there to be a concession about. There's no hierarchy or anything to teach.
I really love this message, but I have like a little intuition fear that I've already corrupted the message, because I love it, because then I don't have to do anything, I don't have to feel guilty anymore, I don't have to feel inadequate, I'm just okay the way I am, life is good, I'm gonna chill now. Like I feel there's something.
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah,
there's something kooky about it.
Imagine, not having to worry about, just what is. Yeah. Awful. Yeah, must be something wrong with that.
No.
No.
No. Yeah.
All there is openness.
The sense from people sharing news is that we should be concerned about what is.
Oh, you're talking about like the news on TV,
well,
or
if it's personal or on CNN. I mean,
right.
BBC.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you have, if you're friend, but I mean that's the whole thing is to get somebody engaged in what
Well, you can watch the news and concern can seem to happen. Yeah. It also might not.
I don't think I could watch the news and not be concerned.
But
I know that anything's possible.
Yeah. Well, I understand. I mean, God, that's understandable, isn't it? It's quite.
Because the way that they talk. It's like it's not geared toward, hey, take this or leave this. No.
Sure.
The way that it's all orchestrated.
Sure. Yeah. Stories, strong stories, right?
Yeah. Strong images.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, how quickly we shift our attention. It's like this news today about this, in a week's time, it's like completely gone. It's still happening, but it's gone.
Yeah.
No longer in the news, and then we sort of fed this particular thing, and then now this is what happened. And it just keeps going.
Yeah. It's not continuous. Nature of the human is not a continuous thing. Nature of the me state is non-continuous. A child will pick up a toy, play with it for 3 seconds, and then throw it away, and it's on to the next thing. It's constantly broken. There isn't a continuousness of a story. So quite naturally, stories will just be there, and then something will change, and then it's over.
Because the people, I guess, going through it, it's not a story necessarily for them. Like the Palisades fire, it's only a story for everybody watching the news.
Sure, it's a news story.
Because for them, it's their life. Yeah.
Well, it's what is.
It's what is.
Yeah.
Well, to David's point, I think it's an interesting point. It's like, for it to be continuous, if I'm getting it right, for it to be continuous, it has to be a me.
Continuousness is what me. It's all about. Continuousness is what me tries to do. It tries to create a story in time. Because it's a contraction. It's a quality of contraction. So it's bunching it together, holding it together. Right? It's a story in time. So that's what me knows. And yeah. So these news stories, are things that are relatable to my story. If they become relatable to my story, then they're remembered, then they become part of my story. If they're not, then they just let go very quickly. And the upsetting thing as well, which is what I was pointing out before, is that then there's not a continuousness of me. So it forgets the stories. It forgets, oh shit, that was happening, in Ukraine. Oh shit, I've forgotten that was happening. I've got to remember that again. I've got to connect to that story because that's still going on. I've got to be aware of that. So I've got to, but naturally, stories get forgotten. Naturally, plates stop spinning. This one smashed, oh shit, I've got to get another plate and start spinning again. So you have to keep on. So there's this thing about what's going on in the news where you have to there's this process where you have to keep on watching the news so that you keep up with all of the stories that are going on. Because you don't want to let any of them go, because then you won't know what's happening.
And it doesn't really exist unless it's thought about. Right?
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It isn't relevant.
It's almost like in the illusion the timeline is created in each moment from the thoughts piecing it together.
Well, for me, piecing it together.
For me, yeah.
There's some teachers, David, that talk about this idea of some kind of a pure consciousness or awareness. The evidence of that being that when we go into deep sleep, there is no dream, there is no I, there is nothingness, and yet we wake up the next morning and here we are, there's me again. So they rationalize that there's still in that deep sleep, there is something there that then comes back to this particular dimension in the morning. What is deep sleep to you when there's no dreams?
I mean, deep sleep is just there is no me. There's just nothing. There's no contraction going on. There's just what is.
In a way, there's that no me that's in deep sleep is actually same in every all the
absolutely, yeah. That's when there is no me, there's no me. There's just a what that's talking about in a way is a sort of, as you said, it's a rationalization of this in a way, like perhaps you could call it like I don't know, you know, I don't know what exactly you're talking about there, but there's lots of ideas of like the body not being inhabited, and then the body being inhabited by a spirit, and then it coming back and forth and all the rest of it. Yeah, it's a kind of explanation for trying to understand what's, the absence of me.
But in actuality, there's no distinction between this sleep or any other state.
It's just another state, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Conversation creates a great deal of suffering for me, Just this, so there's nothing to do, there's no way to figure this out.
It's really annoying, isn't it?
Just, the truth is that you're fucking doomed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, doomed is quite a dramatic term, though, isn't it? Right?
Well,
Doomed.
there's a lot of suffering.
Right. Sure.
Suffering.
Yeah. Sure.
Feels pretty doomed.
But I mean, yeah, sure. I understand. Yeah, what you're saying. There can be a huge resistance to this. Although it's such, when there is just a revealing of what is being expressed, there's just what is, then it's just like, oh, what the fuck was that all about? I mean, it's just completely ridiculous, I mean, that.
Also, there's a resistance to there's like a boredom. Like if that's the truth, I'm bored.
Yeah, this is really boring for me.
Yeah.
This is boring for me. Sure, because me's like an adventurer. Wants to go on another adventure, right? Make it, to have tasks, getting somewhere, doing something, having a real interesting experience, something to write home about, take the photographs, get the t-shirt, all of that, yeah. And this offers absolutely bugger all, yeah.
I want to ask you for advice, but I think that's not a thing.
Well, I mean, you won't get any. I mean, because there simply isn't. How could I possibly offer you advice? Isn't it? I mean, you know what I mean. It's like.
Because there's nothing that one can do to not do here.
Yeah, but also there's nothing here, so there's nothing. There's nothing here. There's nothing there. So what advice could possibly be exchanged?
And yet, I mean, if the conversation were around plant medicine, there would be knowledge there, and then there would be a need there, right?
Yeah, sure. And knowledge, a sense that this has there's a sense of those plants, for example. And talking
so you
about.
wouldn't call it knowledge.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. It's like I don't know what is really. I would probably in that conversation call it that, or maybe. But when it actually comes down to what knowledge is, I don't really know what knowledge is.
Like you can't separate the abstract just knowledge from its object, the object of knowledge. So you don't know what knowledge without
Let's put it like this. All there is muscle memory. There's just muscle memory. It's just very complex versions of a kind of muscle memory. When people do things over and over and over again, they just have a certain muscle memory. Like a mechanic does all these things all the time, and there's just a muscle memory of that, and that is considered knowledge. But all it is just a muscle memory. There's just a response. Same thing with somebody who does computers. Same thing with somebody who uses language. It's just that repetition of something over and over again. I mean, essentially what it is like is a dog catching a ball. But we don't consider it like that. We think it's very important knowledge. But essentially it's just quite a complex version of a dog catching a ball. Nothing's known in that process. It's just the repetition of some movement that's happened over and over and over again. There's nothing in knowledge.
It feels like relatively this applies to this as well. I know what the answer is already, but it feels like in the dream there's more. I know it's just all the same, like a dog barking, so to speak. But it feels in the dream like there's more of an alignment or resonance because of the languaging. It seems to be reflecting somehow this, and it feels like it doesn't feel like just more dogs barking, although it is. I can see that it is. But in the dream, it seems to have some kind of energy and movement, resonance like a tuning fork. You know, between ones that are listening, different than if you were just talking about ice cream or something like that. But it's not.
No.
Okay.
But I mean,
I answered my own question.
Well, I mean, it's interesting when me is met with something which isn't coming from anything,
right?
Because that's a bit weird, and it's in a human form. It's a bit weird when it's in a human.
Any different effect?
Well, it's just a bit weird. It can be a bit strange for that me energy to meet a human form which is not is behaving.
So it's just circumstance, happenstance, nothing more.
Well, and it with babies it's just like that, isn't it? But in an adult, seeming adult structure, it's not that common, which is why it seems strange.
And that's the only reason, no resonance, alignment, or difference in the
well,
words.
Yeah, you could call it resonance if you want. It's like if you like, there's a resonance with what is being expressed because it is known there.
Right.
It's all known. It's all one.
It seems to.
So it's just that it's being there's a resonance with that. Yeah.
No effect.
No cause, no effect.
But as Tony always says, energetically, there seems to be something.
Yeah, but not an imparting of energy.
No.
Not a transmission.
Right.
Okay, it's not that.
No.
It's just that there is the nature of that sort of not being met at me and me. It's always me and me. It's me meeting me. There's the two me's that seem to be meeting. Me upon me, head to head. This is something which is a slightly different conversation.
And the fact that the conversation aligns is irrelevant with this.
Yeah, it could be talking about anything, but the nature of what is being, of what. Yeah, it could be talking about anything. Yeah. Sure.
Feels different here in the dream when it's reflecting about this in the way that you share.
Well, it's more direct,
as opposed to
Yeah, it's more
talking
direct.
about ice cream.
Sure, it's more direct. It's more directly.
Yeah.
You know, if you're talking about ice cream, it's not actually as direct.
I feel something here. Things open. Maybe, you know, I won't attach that to a person that it's open for necessarily, but something. Zabi feels, you know, not, you know, the illusory Zabi. Something's arising.
No, that's what's going on there, right? I mean, that's the point.
Yeah.
It's just what seems to happen.
Okay. Yeah, it's neither here nor there. It could happen from tripping over a stick. And it's not even happening to anyone.
It's just what appears to be happening, just energy.
Okay, it just feels qualitatively different being in a room with this conversation.
It can.
Yeah.
It can. But that's not due to anybody doing anything.
No. Yeah. Okay.
That's just a different energy. That's just the energy of the room. Right?
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
It's just what it is, yeah.
The apparent individual could feel liberated through this conversation, and it could have a sense. It could feel like a shift in orientation where the notion of itself dissolves. It's in the story.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's
but
in the story.
But still, it just feels more subtle, more open.
Okay. Yeah, it's what's happening.
And I get it. I'm just putting it in the in the dream context.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it can also be very frustrating and very irritating.
Absolutely. Oh, completely. Yeah, and as as you were saying, it can be actually create the total opposite. And neither one of them is better or worse or you're right or wrong. Of course, it's just what seems to be happening. Yeah, this the effect of seeming how we're different bodies.
Just for the fun of it, do you want us to tell us your story? Like what happened to David?
I mean,
what was David doing for how long and whatnot? I don't know, just for the fun of it.
Just to tell a story.
Just to tell a story. We know
do you want that?
The people want to know.
Yeah, go.
Who wants to hear a story? It's like it's that kind of thing.
She definitely wants to.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it is interesting in these conversations that the thing that wants to. It's kind of like I'm bored of this kind of this energy of kind of like this. I want to hear a story. That's much more interesting. Give me a story, and that's what sort of goes on in that. So this, in a certain sense. This doesn't want to go into story, really.
Well, I especially want to hear your story so I can get a prescription and know what to do. So
Yeah.
I can kind of.
But that's the point. Is all it does is it's Tony's got this great term, me fodder. Me fodder.
Fodder?
Food for me.
Oh, F-O-O-D-E-R.
Food for me, yeah.
And
So it's the stories are just food for me. They're just let's have some food. Give me some food, and that's what's going on. And that tension that is sort of felt in this, when there isn't those stories going on, is the kind of qualitative difference between conversations which are always about me. There is a difference in that. You notice it.
Okay, having said that, you can humor us.
It's just it's very boring, There was just an apparent, David that was wandering around the world trying to find something, and happened upon, Tony Parsons, and then went to Tony Parsons for a very long time. went into lots of other things along the way to try to find something, failed on every attempt to find anything, in no matter where there was direction to do so, and then just got bored of the whole damn thing and didn't want to go to meetings anymore. Decided to go to a last meeting because I didn't want to do it anymore because it was so absolutely ridiculously boring listening to to that person at the end. It was just telling me stuff that I already knew 100 times over. It was already done, and in the complete ignoring of all of that stuff, just sitting there in that room, there was just apparently an end of that seeking process. It just ended.
Sounds like you just got bored with seeking.
Sure. No. Sure. Why not? Yeah. No, because it's not very nice. Yes, so there you go. Now you've heard it. It's kind of like, what was the point of that? But there was certainly, during that period, a absolute conviction here that this body would live and die, and that there would be no possibility of that falling away. It just wasn't this whole thing, that just wasn't for me. I just kind of was convinced, okay, well, after 20 years of sitting here, engaging with all of this shit, it hasn't worked. So, probably won't work, Luckily, I loved those people there, and it was my people, Tony and Claire, and all of that was my family in a way. But that what was being expressed was like, well, it's obviously not. I'm obviously not going to get this, and I was right. I never got it. So yeah.
I think a lot of us are in the same boat. We're all kind of seekers.
Yeah.
We haven't quite. We're now having heard your story. Or these stories. Now we're thinking, okay, maybe one of these meetings.
Yeah, exactly. Hope. It just engenders a whole load of hope, and okay, well then I just need to wait for another 20 years, and it will just be okay then. That's the kind of bullshit that it can create.
More than 20 years.
That's the kind of shit that it can form in the story. That's why me wants the story, but then when you hear the story, it's kind of, why did you tell me that? Do I have to wait another this long? Or it's all bullshit. That's why you don't need to worry about stories. Stories are just absolutely pointless, meaningless. Because all there is this, and there's always just been this. There's always just been this.
There's no need to go to England and take care of Tony
No.
for the next 10 years.
No. I mean, he might like that, but there's nothing necessary.
That I'm going to get.
Nothing to get. Yeah.
Did you start to miss the message? Is that why you started to talk?
No way, no. As soon as that fell away, I had not listened to anybody after that. Actually, I was listening to certain people before. I listened to him a bit. There was a moment before, I think, and then that was it. Yeah. But I couldn't. I was so full of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want. It was just very clear. I didn't want to listen anymore to that going on. Why the hell would I do in a way? But having said that, I do go to to Tony's meetings. I go. I love how he expresses it,
Yeah.
but I don't need to. It's not a. It's just a different thing now. It's not to do with that.
going more because it's family.
Yeah, they're just people that I love. You know, I love those people. You know, it's not to get anything. It's just an attraction to that is. You know, it's just like, you know, meeting, you know, friends, or yeah, it's just a draw.
Be the time now, maybe we could do it at dinner, I don't know, whenever you're comfortable. We heard that you have some experience with plant medicine, and we just wanted to, but it's up to you if it's the right time or not.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about it generally in the context of this, you know, which is just simply that you know, psychotropic plants or whatever are a form of catharsis. They're a form of energetic catharsis that can clear blocked energy in the body, and that's it. It helps to clear blocked energy in the body. So yeah, and then, you know, what that has sometimes got tied up with and associated with, that it's become, you know, it's latched onto by me and turned into a path, and that path is to get rid of me. So then it is then latched onto and used it as a sacrament to try to get rid of that energetic contraction of me, and it doesn't work. That is just another dead end, you know. Of course it would be, because it's still an intention to go and get somewhere and to try to find something, which of course cannot be found.
Well, sometimes the idea is, whether it's plant medicine, whether it's Christianity, whether it's that if I purify myself enough, and if I get rid of this trauma and that trauma and this sin and that sin,
becoming perfect,
then I will find me.
Of course,
me,
becoming clean it out as much as you can, and
right.
you can become But as we've you know spoken about, is that this body can be full of trauma, and there can just be no me.
Okay.
So that wouldn't work with that, you know, that kind of thing. Otherwise, it would be this sort of purification that only the pure can get that, you know, and you have to be certain, you know, you have to do that. No, because also what it would mean is that everybody that had taken plant medicine would essentially be closer to enlightenment. Well, I can absolutely promise you, you know, if you've met, you know, the people that are engaged with that, you know, it is just like anybody else.
Yeah.
There is a whole load of there's a whole load of me just associated with a different path. You know, like being a yogi or being a shaman, or all of this is me latching onto another path, another quality. You know, an asceticism which drives a chemical process in the body versus using chemicals from a plant to do something. You know, whatever you want to do, it's still driven by a seeking energy that is trying to get somewhere. This can fall away at any point. It can be drinking ayahuasca tea or drinking tea. Yeah. So there's no prescription. This is just the end of seeking. This is just the end of needing to try to find something. just freedom from all of those paths, and needing to get something, needing to somewhere to get to. Yeah. As I said, I like this metaphor that me is simply trying to find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow when all there is gold. So all I want to say is thank you for coming today. Thank you for all your brilliant questions. And really appreciate talking and everything. It was lovely it's meeting you all and talking. I hope anybody that wants to come tomorrow, you're more than welcome. We can carry on. Everything that is longed for is already this.
Thanks, David.
Thanks. Thank you.